What's up, everyone? We are back for the Language of Behavior podcast, and we're also going live both on YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you are checking us out, maybe for the first time, or maybe this is multiple times for yourself, feel free to jump in the comment section, add a question or comment, or even just say hello. We'd love to see who is out there as we are winding down our week. Just for those who are usually taking us in on a podcast platform, just know that on Tuesdays, this is when it's going to drop, but you're getting a sneak peek before we go through, make the edits, and post it online. So you're getting the live look as myself and Charlie may stumble through our words or say something crazy. I doubt that, but that is always a possibility when going live. So Charlie, it's so great to see you once again this week.
You too. It's Friday. It's so weird. I mean, I'm so excited about the upcoming Nashville trip I have. I'm going to the Innovative School Summit for school counselors. I cannot wait. So I'm just so eager. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to meet up in California. So I'm just excited. It's just like there's a lot of energy. So it's so nice to see you too.
Summer just goes by so quickly, and I cannot believe that we're going to be in California so soon. And yeah, I've got a couple trips out there speaking. I know you got a lot going on. I know also, was it yesterday that I saw you were on a conference?
Yes, it seems so long ago, but yes, for the Thrive conference, it was amazing. It was the first time I had ever done that. And these ladies, they really know how to put it together. I think they do it quarterly, at least quarterly, if not more. And they just have such a wealth of knowledge coming in from all of these various experts and leaders. It's just so nice. So yeah, I hope people look that up because it's great resources there.
For sure. I also want to highlight that I saw that we had a podcast come out. The Authority podcast had us as guests. And honestly, I was looking at the question that we're going to touch on this week, and it kind of falls in line with that podcast. I started to listen back to it because, like most podcasts, you get on there, you record, and then maybe a month or two later it drops for everyone to listen. So sometimes I forget what we even said. And I will say, Charlie, as I was listening, I was like, I am so blessed to be with a brilliant co-author, Charlie Peck, because you were killing it on that podcast. So everyone that's listening, go check that out. Charlie was amazing. And I love the idea that Ross was kind of pushing us specifically with school discipline. And I know he was in line with our thinking in our book and the work that we do. But I always love when people are kind of pushing back a little bit on the topic. Yeah.
I agree. I really do. And that was really kind of you to say. I mean, I do think we work really well together. I think that, and we push each other, which is really nice, but I think it's just a good compliment. So when we get to go together and have these discussions with other people, it's just so nice. It's so nice to hear that feedback from others too, when they've listened to it and they're like, I took that strategy, and they often do say strategies that you've given, like that push-in model. I keep hearing it over and over. And just there's just so much we can do together that's just more powerful. I love it.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, let's jump in the conversation with the listener question. And this is kind of pushing back a little bit, just in the way, and it's very short, it's very sweet. And the question is, why not use ISS or OSS? And Charlie, I know in my background, 20 plus years in education, this comes up all the time when we're working with schools, when we're working with educators, even at conferences, when we're presenting. There's always questions about well, I kind of understand what you're talking about, but they still kind of hold on to their beliefs and their experiences and why they think it should still exist. So with this question, why not use ISS or OSS? What are some things that come to mind for you?
Well, I always think, you could. You could use it. You absolutely can do whatever the heck you want. But if you want results, you'll already notice that it's just not working. And so why keep doing the things over and over that just aren't working? Now, I want to say this too, because again, as a former teacher, I remember needing some kind of respite, right? I felt like with some students, there was a time where I'm like, how could this kid possibly be sent right back to my classroom? So I do think we need to address that a little bit. But overall, if we're looking at behavior change and guiding kids through life and setting up positive school climates, just using that without a lot more intentionality behind it, it's just not working.
For sure.
What do you think?
No, I was actually thinking about Josh Tover, who we were just talking with on his podcast. We were on the PGP podcast, and they were talking through kind of what new administrators shouldn't do. And he was very direct about don't have a kid that comes to the front office Don't just like spend 5 minutes with them and send them right back to class. Like regardless, like obviously that teacher needs something. Most likely what you were talking about, Charlie, is a break. But I'm with you in the sense that like if you look at ISS as a whole and that what it typically looks like, and I know this looks different on every campus, but most campuses that I've visited, and I've visited probably hundreds at this point, that they all look very much the same. And so if the model is replicated, then the results are going to be replicated. And that's kind of what you're talking about. And so for myself, like I didn't want ISS to be a space that was, our traditional rows of desks that are uncomfortable. They're supposed to be there for 8 hours and they don't get to talk. They don't get to do anything but the work that they're supposed to do. You can't put your head down. And there's some other like very archaic things that still occur in ISS as far as like writing sentences and whatnot. But then you also flip it and talk about OSS. Well, I have no control over that student. I have no control over that environment. I have no control over anything that's going to occur as far as that teach piece that we talk about so often. Yeah. I do. If they're in my campus, then I have control over that situation. If I send them out into the world, in the community, I'm just hoping and praying that they have some guidance out there. But as we know, like our parents are busy. Our parents are working. Some of them have multiple jobs. Sometimes it's a single parent. And so, maybe they don't have the same support system of other families. There's so many different situations. So for myself, I really tried my very best to not send anyone out of school suspension if I absolutely could. Now, sometimes the district comes in and says you have to do it. And
that's right.
You got to abide by those procedures if that's dictated for you. However, if I had control of it, I really tried to take that off the table.
When does it make sense, like in your experience? Because this is definitely more something you dealt with.
Yeah. So you're talking about a really, really intense situation, right? So, if it's something where maybe police are involved, maybe there was an assault, maybe it was something like that where it was pretty egregious as far as the action of the student. Maybe it's drugs, something that's really, really high level. That's typically when the district would come in and be like, this is something where the kid needs to be off for this many days. We also need to have another meeting about placement. Are they going to special programs? Is this a situation where they're going to get arrested and now it's going to be, them in a court situation? Some of those high level things like that. Or maybe it's a threat. A student made some egregious threat about bringing a gun to school, or they were going to cut a kid, or, something like that where, a lot of times a situation like that too, it's not just affecting that child and the other kid, but then there's rumors and that starts to spread. And now parents come to the front office and taking their kids out. And now I've got reporters, across the street waiting to talk with someone about what event just occurred. So some things, get grander than the action. And so then it also gives some time and space for the campus and the district to really create a plan of like, what are we going to do? And it's more like triage at that point because it's such an extreme event.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too, is oftentimes those are like, we're looking at patterns of behavior. We're looking at the majority. And there are definitely those complex issues in those kids. Because when you're sending them home, I mean, oftentimes the trouble started there. I'm not saying always, but oftentimes the trouble starts there. And I'm not saying it's a parenting problem. I'm saying there's a systemic problem that's contributing, or something's going on that they haven't gotten the proper guidance for. Again, not because the parent did something wrong, but because just there's so many things that can go wrong. And so sending them back to an environment, it's just not helpful. And I feel like parents just get so upset, which I don't blame them. Listen, I have 3 boys. I've gone through a lot of things. We could do a whole episode on all the stuff I've failed at and been involved in with my own kids. But
been there, done that.
Oh gosh, right? Gosh, I don't even get me started. There's so much guilt. It's so hard being a parent. I'm a much better therapist and teacher than I ever will be a parent because it's too hard. It hurts. It hurts my feelings. It's so painful. But so again, the message I want is that we need to just work together so that nobody feels like this is your fault, you deal with it. And so when I say we're sending them back there, it's because we're kind of pushing them off, right? And we're like, you fix them and then send them back to school, which that's controversial because a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that it's not our job. But you and I both wrote a book about this. And the very first thing we said is, It's all of our jobs. If we're all working with kids, it's all of our jobs to help guide these children through life. I always believe it. I think you walk down the street and it's our job, if you see a child, to make eye contact with them and smile.
For
Like
sure.
make people feel wanted. I had a teacher, this is now a tangent, and you're going to just have to hear one more thing. One more
Go
thing.
for it.
There was an amazing teacher, Tom, and I used to work with him, Tom McMahon, and he was amazing. We lost him actually to cancer while I was still teaching at Governor Simcoe High School in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And I learned so much from him. One of the thing that sticks out with me the most is he used to walk down the hall and look at kids and make sure he said hi to them, and he would make eye contact. And I'm like, what are you doing that for? And he said, because I might be the only one paying attention to that day, or to that kid that day, or ever. Like I might be the only person who has acknowledged their existence. And you and I both know how powerful that can be over time. And those kids want to come to our building. So
Yeah.
ISS, OSS, we don't want to send them off because they're already experiencing that. They already think those thoughts about themselves as kids who need to be cast aside, typically, not always. But so I just think we all have a job to do. So I want to hear your thoughts here because I just went on a tangent.
I love your tangents. They're brilliant, Charlie. So no, I was just thinking like ISS. I do think there is a space for it. I understand the OSS, especially for extreme situations and actions. But I think what happens, and I think a lot of school data, if you're looking at student referrals and the consequences that are associated with that, is one that I think tilts to low level infractions. And I think that's where we get in trouble. I think that's where we create a really disruptive culture in not only learning, but then also with our relationships with our students. And they don't feel wanted. There is a lot of animosity there. And I think there's just a lot of broken relationships that haven't ever been repaired due to it. And I get that adults, I felt this as a teacher too. So don't want folks to think like, oh, he's just, on the dark side of admin. But like, I did need a break from a kid before, but I also understood that there were other ways to go about it, right? I could ask my neighbor teacher and just be like, hey, I just need like 10 minutes. Can this kid chill with you for that time? He's got his work. He knows what he's doing. Can he just like be with you for a little bit of time? He gave me a short break. And shoot, like we were talking about parenting, Charlie. Sometimes I tag out with my wife. I'm
Yes.
done. Like if I remain in this situation, I'm going to make it 1,000 times worse. So will you please take over? Right. And as teachers, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's best for everybody involved in the situation. And it's just a matter of like repairing that relationship when everyone's calmed down, to be able to come in with a clear mind and be able to decide what's the appropriate consequence for the action instead of just kicking them out and send them to another room, in ISS. And so I think when we're talking, it's mostly like low level infraction pieces that are building up over time over that school year to really create something that's far more negative than it is positive, which we all know is going to affect learning in a very bad way.
Yeah. I mean, the brain, when it's under stress, it's not learning from punitive measures. It's just
No.
not. And there's so much going on with that prefrontal cortex when that shuts down. They're just learning to be dysregulated in this space. And or maybe they're just naturally dysregulated and not learning how to get regulated to want to show up there. I mean, to me, that reinforces the feelings of rejection sometimes when it's chronic, right? Once in a while, it can be effective. Like you might have a kid who did something that's out of line. They're a good kid. They're all good kids. I'm telling you. I mean, yeah, we can do studies on that. It's a very tiny percentage when something's wrong. And even then, that just may not be the right place for that kid, but doesn't mean they're a bad kid. But I mean, there could be really good kids who make really stupid mistakes. And going to ISS for a day might really shake them of never doing anything like that again. I've seen that happen. Again, I don't know that's even the right spot for them, but it's
just going to the front office sometimes is enough.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe that's better to say it like that. Yeah. I have
mean,
this
just
all
being
in
in
my
that
head.
setting is just like kids are crying, they're bawling. I'll never do it again,
I know.
and it's true. I never saw him again.
I will
And that was a
say,
conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is because it's so scary to them, and they're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I can't believe I got sent there." I will also say too, some of the kids who are those really good natured kids can be. I'm thinking of scenarios in my head, but have been pushed to do something because nobody stepped in for them, and they
Mhm.
reached a point of just utter just
Yeah. Breaking
despair.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, and said something, and it changed the trajectory of the rest of their high school career and
Hmm.
potential issues. We wrote about it in our book, actually. We didn't make it about the kid that I'm thinking about, but we kind of went about it. It did. It affects scholarships, it affects opportunities, and then their esteem that year. They were like, some kids get like very suicidal. It changes the trajectory if we target the wrong kid for the wrong reason and don't like. So there's like policies. We got to look at those sometimes. We got to look at
Yeah.
those. It breaks
All
my
right.
heart.
It does break my heart too.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna flip it, and we're gonna do behind the banter.
Okay.
This will be the third time we've done it, and then I think I have a question that you're gonna appreciate. We'll see. All right. So this one is specifically for you, Charlie, because I always love getting reactions from you. So, which part of the language of behavior do you think students would appreciate the most if they read it?
Oh my gosh, easily. This is the sensory stuff. Right? The sensory surges and the calm corners. When we created that, consider the environment. Oh, I think that they would definitely love that. I think they would love the tool that we have to be able to look and say, oh, yeah, this drives me nuts. Oh, no, this is soothing. Keep this. I think they'd
Yeah,
love to have that personal piece invested.
for sure.
What about you?
Well, I think part of the conversation today, I think people have been sent to ISS for really crazy and weird reasons, and they don't understand like why. They don't agree with it. Um, it was unnecessary. As the kids say, it's extra, right? So,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
just saying, I think just like the first part of the book, I think a lot of them would probably be shaking their heads with the data that's supporting it and just understanding like that's just a broken system that really doesn't do anything. I think our kids know that, and if you ask them, they'll be the first to tell you. Now, some try to use it as a get a class
Of course.
card for those who don't want to be in school. But most children don't. There's a disconnect as to why it even exists, and I think they understand that. So I think a lot of them would probably shake their heads with some of that pieces at the beginning of our book specifically.
I love that. You're always looking out for kids. You are. I love it. It's so nice to hear you talk about that.
Oh, I miss it sometimes.
Yeah.
those really deep conversations as an administrator, and uncovering some stuff. Middle school is just that's the only place I've been. In middle school, you see such growth, such a fast time of them coming in looking like an elementary kid, and then them leaving to go to high school, and they're so different, and there's just so much growth. I just love that age so much. So, anyways, I could talk about that forever. Uh, so, with that, I'm going to throw up some banners for everyone because I want to make sure that everyone is, diving into all the wonderful resources on our websites. So, of course, Charlie is thrivingeducator.org. So make sure that you're heading over there. You can also head over to joshtamber.com/the language of behavior. Of course, on both of ours, we've got blogs, newsletters, our podcast. We've got all kinds of different things for you as regards to resources. We continuously try to get questions from all over, from meetings, from conferences, but also from you, the listeners. So if you want to jump into the bit.ly, it's bit.ly/LOB questions. It's super simple. It's just asking for your feedback in regards to a question for future episodes. Of course, we want to make sure that we've got an opportunity to speak into your life, into your classroom, campus, district, whatever's going on, because we want to make sure that we provide as much content resources for you. With that, Charlie, do you have any closing words for us today?
Yeah, I do. Let's just try to change it up a little bit. Just try like a new method, like the check-in, check-out process before we try to send a kid out. Let's just try to get the behavior before it starts, or just make a connection and check in, check out, see how that goes for a week, and then take another step up.
Yeah, for sure. And we're always looking to change that environment. So Charlie and I have various models too that we can help you with. So make sure that you're reaching out if that's something that you're interested in the following school year. I also want to make sure that the book study kit is here for you. It's free. So you can download it. I know, Charlie, that we've seen a ton of schools already starting to get that book study going, preparing for the new year, as they're looking for additional strategies for their classroom and for the campus. So super exciting.
Yeah, it is. And also like Jonathan Cranford, we've talked about him before. He's got a great book called The Art of ISS. So if
Yes.
kiddos are there, because sometimes it does serve a purpose, he has a really good resource for you to help how you're going to set that up.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So
Yeah.
definitely check that resource out. And with that, we will see you again next week. So thank you so much, Charlie.
Bye.